Hello friends, this is week something of online art, and this week I'm talking to you about paper quilling. So you should have a PowerPoint that you saw of some incredible examples of paper quilling. I'm going to show you some really simple ways of doing this because it does take a lot of patience. So remember the glue I asked you to save? We're going to use that again. And the trick with paper quilling is to create some kind of border. So I did do a drawing first, just like a simple heart. And then I created strips using my excess colored paper or construction paper. And I tried to make the strips all about the same size, so it's all kind of the same level. It's not hugely important, just kind of is a stylistic choice. And I'm also using some tape. The tape helps make things happen faster versus glue. You don't have to use tape, you can certainly use glue. I'm a big fan of, I don't really think there's any cheating in art because everything is just a better way of doing something, or a faster or more efficient. So having tape could be helpful in this process. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue down my border. So I'm just going to put some glue around the edges of this and then glue this down to my manila folder. So I'm also using the manila folder, the other side, to have kind of a stiff background. And if this doesn't glue down right away, eventually it will, or I can also come in with some of my tape and tape down a few spots. So I think I'll just do that because that makes it a little easier. And I can probably get away with just taping down one spot even, and then letting the glue set later. So I have some pieces already quilled over here, and then these are my kind of scratch paper pieces that I've cut. And I showed you some artists that were using paper quilling in several different ways. So you could just cut your paper up and create a collage within your shape that you make. And so obviously I could keep building off of this shape. So I could make a flower. I'm just, for time's sake, I'm gonna make a more simple shape. But I could start by layering paper in more of a collage type way. And I like having glue with a paintbrush because it allows you to kind of control the glue without getting it so thick and so gooey. And you can do layers that way. You can also use regular glue if you don't have this glue anymore, so that's not a big deal. So I could do something like that, and then even paint over that glue so that I still have a sticky surface. All right, and then I can also start to take my paper quillings and stick them in here. So, you know, I guess a master paper quiller would glue, you know, they would quill their paper and then glue it at the tightness where they wanted to keep the paper. So you can do that. You can make these ahead of time and glue them in place. I made mine pretty quickly and just let them be loose, which I think is also fine. So I could basically start doing this and stick them different shapes all together and let this be something a little more free form. Okay, this is like almost like a little heart. And so let me show you how I did that. So one way of curling the paper up is just to do it by hand. Just kind of bend the end and then roll it up however is easiest for you. But it is much easier if you have something to roll around. So if you were able to roll around the end of a paintbrush, for example, it gives you something a little more stiff to be able to do that a little bit faster. So, for example, I could glue this or tape it. so that I'm able to keep more of a tight shape, and then I can use that as one of my shapes in my composition. The other thing I did was take a chopstick, and I put this at the edge of a table and used a knife and cut a slit into the end of the chopstick. I don't know if you can see that. If you do this, you probably need the help of an adult to do that, okay? Don't do this on your own. But you could wrap around a chopstick without that slit, but the slit actually creates kind of the tool that a lot of paper quillers use. So it allows you to put the end of the paper in there and then wrap it really quickly and a little bit more tightly. And so same thing, if I want this to be a tight spiral, I can tape it or glue it and pull it off. And then if I wanted it to be looser, I can let it go. Or say I want to do a heart shape, so I might roll up one side, take it off, and then roll up the other side. So in the PowerPoint, I have some examples of a couple of different types of shapes you can make. There's really no limit to what you could create using this technique with folding and with curling and shaping. You know, I think it's really nice how the one artist does a lot of just kind of zigzag folding. So just experiment with different ways you can fold paper and then kind of put them in some sort of border that they're contained. I find it's easier to just kind of lay a glue layer down and then press things on. You might think it's more interesting to create some kind of background first and then layer on top of that. But it does create a really interesting surface, and it's really fun to play with line. So I hope you have fun with that, and I would love to see the results. Have a great week.